Welcome everyone to another episode of Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. Tonight we have a wonderful show. We're going to talk all things NFL Week 1, so let's get started.
Welcome to Jasmine Pollock's First Impression Sports Talk, the fastest growing sports talk show in the country. And now, here's your host, Jasmine Pollock.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. To kick that off, I want to bring in Cole. We're going to talk a little bit about his show, CB Sports radio show. And then we're going to bring in my dad and Jeremiah and talk about everything Week 1. So Cole, how you been? How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well, I'm not doing happy because obviously my Packers lost, Gators lost. It was just a bad week. But let's talk about you, how you've been doing, and just your radio show and what's going on with that.
Yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, I announced the launch of my radio show through RMU Radio. I'm very excited for it. I'm ready to get going. As of right now, we have a scheduled date, tentative. Things are always subject to change of next Monday at 5 o'clock. Keep an eye on my Twitter account at RMUCSN Cole and my Instagram for CB Sports Talk. I will be updating that when I get more information, but I'm very looking forward to it, and especially now with the NFL just getting started.
Definitely. I'm excited. I would love to be one of the guests on the show. I'm sure we'll have a lot of great conversations about a lot of different things. So let's bring in everyone. And Cole, I'm going to start with you. So the first thing on my list is the Steelers and Bengals game. So being that you are a Steelers fan, and Jay, I want to ask you, what was your reaction to the Steelers game? And are you excited for what you saw? Are you amped up? Do you feel like the Steelers have a chance to win the division?
So there is definitely a lot of goods from the game. There's bads. And then there might be some issues here coming down the line for the Steelers. I liked what I saw on defense. Defense was phenomenal. The turnovers, the pressure on Joe Burrow, that's exactly how you have to play against a phenomenal quarterback, a franchise quarterback, and that's what Joe Burrow is. He has already shown so much flashes of his talent, and he is a for sure franchise quarterback that's going to be in the league for a while, as long as the Bengals protect him with their offensive line. But so what I had some issues with is the offensive line. That is a terrible offensive line. It's one of the worst in the league. Dan Moore at left tackle. I mean, how many holding penalties is this guy going to take?
Right.
Really hard to watch. All right, because all you do is every week, Dan Moore takes another holding penalty. That's a shocker. This is what I'm going to say. The past 2 years in the draft, the Steelers in the first 2 rounds have taken Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth, Kenny Pickett, George Pickens. So Tomlin's going out, picking up a bunch of those weapons, toys, and they're not getting offensive line help. They took Dan Moore and Kendrick Green in the 3rd and 4th round. Those are not starting players on your team. Kendrick Green, in my opinion, is already a bust. I've just seen nothing from him. He got pulled at center halfway through the year. Dan Moore has shown nothing. He's been terrible. He's not a starter in the NFL. They had a chance to take Creed Humphrey in the 2nd round in the 2021 draft. They took Pat Freiermuth. There could have been your franchise center. They better get this offensive line in order, because if they don't, they're asking for their hopefully future franchise quarterback and Kenny Pickett to get killed out there on the field. And I don't want to see it, because you have to protect your quarterback.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's been a lot of the issues going on with a lot of different teams. Their O-line is the question about the O-line. I know my Packers yesterday, the O-line, I'm terrified because we don't have our starting right tackle Bakhtiari. I'm worried about that, but I feel like he's coming back. But we're going to get into that in a few minutes. But Dad, to you, what was your reaction to Burrow's performance? 5 turnovers, 4 interceptions, and a fumble. What does that say about him? And what do you feel like? Are you going to hang your hat on this game, or is it going to be like, okay, he's going to switch it around?
Okay, so for me, he switched it around in that particular game. This is game one, and that goes for the teams who had success and the teams who didn't. It's still a lot of cobwebs that these guys are shaking off. I think you're going to see better teams. I think some of those teams. Now we're talking week 4, week 5. Okay, then we need to be having conversations. These teams haven't cleared up some of these issues, but I think that a win is a win for the Steelers. Now, they
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a particularly good day. They did. They had Burrow turn the ball over a bunch of times. So as a Steelers fan, I'm not a Steelers fan, but if you're a Steelers fan, one of the things I would be concerned is that you had that many turnovers and the game was still taken into overtime, which the Bengals could have won it off of their field goal kicking. Or, I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
guys could have won. They could have won it as well. But the thing is, a win is a win. So as long as you can grow in the midst of some of those things, say, hey, we got some mistakes we have to clear up. The Bengals are supposed to be one of those playoff powerhouses. They're expecting them to go back to
Yes.
the playoffs. So if you say, well, hey, we got the W, we made some mistakes, now we got to clean this up. If you can transition and do better in the midst of winning that way, then you're fine because you still got the W. It doesn't matter what the margin is; it still shows a W on your record. So with that being said, on the Bengals side of the ball, it's still the same issue. That offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know
Is a problem.
what they
Yeah.
need. Yeah, you go through a draft, you have your guy, and the teams need to be built inside out. So your offensive line, your defensive line, and the skill
Right.
positions are a dime a dozen, but it's harder to get those dogs down there in the middle. And the offensive line with a
Mm-hmm.
passing league, a league that's protecting the quarterbacks, protecting the receivers, you got to have a line that's going to hold up because guess what? Defensively, guess what? The defensive lines are evolving as well because now the defensive
Yep.
linemen are much more athletic, they're faster, they're leaner, and now these offensive linemen are starting to have to, really keep up with these athletes, and you got to draft accordingly. So I think both teams got to go back to the drawing board when it comes to what they're doing scheme wise. If they have a line that has some issues, then they got to sprinkle in some other plays to kind of help minimize those hits on their quarterbacks.
Right. So, Jeremiah, to you, looking at the AFC North. So I know we had our picks. I know for me, I'm still sticking with the Bengals. I know it's week one. There's still a lot of things that teams are trying to figure out, and they're getting the cobwebs off. Like I agree with you on that, Dad. But Jeremiah, to you, Steelers win. Ravens had a phenomenal game, especially Lamar had a phenomenal game yesterday. Browns squeak out a win against the Panthers because they're playing against Baker Mayfield, and we'll get into him later as well. What is your take on the AFC North now that you saw these four teams play and you saw how the quarterbacks delivered? What are you thinking right now?
Well, when it comes to that whole division, to me, I don't see the Browns getting nowhere into that 2 spot at all because I understand, you win against the Panthers and everything else, but you're going against, Baker and the Cardinals. I mean, not Cardinals, what's called North Carolina Panthers. When it comes to the Browns, at quarterback, they don't have Deshaun right now. So I don't see them when it comes to hitting that next step and kind of getting to, I would say, that top 2. When it comes to the Steelers, I have them going second place in that division because what I see from their defense is just a big future I see. Because with Brian Flores being there and being over that defense and Mike Tomlin actually trusting him and also bringing him in there, you just seen a difference, how much pressure they brought to Burrow and everything else. But I do have
Now,
the Bengals at 1, though.
now, real quick, another blow to the Steelers is TJ Watt. His pectoral, I
Oh,
saw when he was holding it. That's going to be a huge, huge loss for the Steelers in that D line because he means so much to that defense as a whole. And you lose a guy, and I know he's been dealing with a lot of different injuries now, and it's becoming like, is he going to become his brother also? Like, because both of them they get banged up pretty easily, and they have very significant injuries. So that's just a notable thing. But continue, Jeremiah.
Oh no, I totally agree with you when it comes to that Watt injury because that's a huge thing that goes down the road, especially for their defense. But I also see that I see that they can be stable especially just with a lot of the other assets that they do have. But I do think that they need to probably do look out more in the market, just like as Cole said, for that offensive line, because no way is that going to cut it when it comes to these next weeks for that quarterback to have him to stay safe and healthy throughout the season. And I have the Bengals number one because I'm not going to panic because of how everything is going now. It's good Burrow had all these interceptions in the first game. You don't want him to have it inside the playoffs. You don't want him to have it inside the Super Bowl. It's better that he has it right now to where he's like, okay, I had this bad thing. Let me shake it off and let me get back into my mode and, go back to it.
Yeah, so we'll definitely see. I think, and I get this is week one. We're still going to talk about a lot of different things here in a few minutes, but I just feel like both teams, Bengals and Steelers, their O-line has to get better. I mean, like Burrow just came off. He had that nasty knee injury. Then he had surgery in the offseason. They have to get it together. Like, I mean, seriously, this is arguably one of the best, if to some people, the best young quarterback right now in this league. You want to protect him. You want to give him all the protection in the world. And they have a lot of receivers. Of course, Jamar Chase, he's that dude. That's one of the, man, that kid is ridiculous. But you have to protect Burrow. He's suffered some injuries already. You need to protect him. But Jeremiah, let's go to you. We're going to go to the AFC East. So the Miami Dolphins, the always question is, how is Tua and the Dolphins going to look, with adding Tyreek Hill, new coach, and Mike McDaniel, who was the former offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. We wanted to see how the Dolphins look. I know me and you sat down and watched that whole game yesterday. So what was your reaction to the Miami Dolphins winning 20-7 over the Patriots?
Well, when it came to that win yesterday, I would say I would give an A+ to that whole Dolphins defense. I would say the defense itself, not to take away how Tua played because he was very accurate yesterday, but you can say that he left a lot on the field and could have done better with some of his passes. Now it's some room to grow because I know this is the first year of Mike McDaniel's offense. So it's like you got to get adjusted to it. And also I know that they could have ran the score up even more. But at the same time, that defense, how it played yesterday, is playing like it wants to be, top 5 and, even top 2 when it comes to, takeaways and just rankings of defense. And I just feel like they were the biggest punches coming out. And I feel like Mac Jones, he had no room to breathe, especially with so many coming off the edge. And plus the different receivers, it was kind of suffocating because you just see Miami has so many runners, especially on that defense.
Yeah, the Dolphins defense is going, and even last year they were a problem, but I feel like now that they have all these people and they have two of the best corners in the league, and then they got that defensive front, the Dolphins are going to be very, very scary on defense. And what I saw, how they were just, Mac Jones couldn't do anything yesterday. I know they had the first, I'm thinking the first half, the Patriots running game was pretty good, but in that second half, the Dolphins shut it down. And it was like no running room. They were getting after it. I saw speed. I saw aggression. I saw all types of things in the defense. Offensively, I get the commentators. Me and you even talked about it, how the commentators were kind of, Tua needs to do this. Tua shouldn't have done that. People were expecting Tua to throw down the field 55 yards, and I was just like, no, I was one of those people that said, I do not believe that Tua was going to throw down the field as much. I thought what the Dolphins did, they did exactly what I thought they were going to do. Short drives, Tyreek Hill. I can already see the connection already starting to happen between Tua and Tyreek Hill. I think he targeted him, 7 times in the first half already, and he had 77 yards by halftime. And you could already see it happening. Then, of course, Waddle, he took it to the house. Remember, when they missed those 2 tackles, he already took it to the house. But I expect the Dolphins offense to do long, methodical drives, run the ball, short plays, get Tyreek and Waddle out there. And then, of course, Gesicki had a couple of catches. Cedric had a couple of catches. I don't expect them to go deep all the time. I don't expect it. And he had a very efficient game. He did. I mean, you can't ask Tua to play any better than he did. Very short. He was on time. Now, he needs to do better with his decision-making for us throwing the ball away and not holding it and trying to do this miracle play. You're not that kind of quarterback. You play to your strength. Eat the ball, throw it away. Don't take a sack. Live for another down. If you don't get it, then punt the ball because the defense is good enough to stop someone. So, Dad, to you, what was your reaction to how the Patriots look? They did not look like the Patriots. What was your reaction to that?
Well, well, basically, the Patriots hadn't looked like the Patriots since Tom Brady left. Let's be honest about that.
Agreed.
So the next thing with that, I think the Patriots right now are looking for an identity. I think that all the years of success and them having that, that cohesive unit with Brady, the head of that monster, and just having those intelligent players and that consistency. I think until you find that next guy that's going to bring everybody together, because Brady had a rare combination of
Absolutely.
leadership along with his study habits. His study habits were at the top. I mean, the guy was an animal, a fanatic about studying his craft. So until you find that perfect combination, you're not going to see the same Patriots. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that the Patriots right now, people are, it's kind of one of those things where you're expecting them to win all the time because they've
Yeah.
done it for so long. You kind of get surprised, and it's kind of hard for us to transition and say, the Patriots may not be as good or they may not be good at all. And it's kind of hard for us to say that. I can't say it yet because I have to see it consistently. But it's kind of looking like,
Mm-hmm.
well, hey, the Patriots may be back in the rebuilding stage all the way around. So, and for the Dolphins, I'm happy to see Tua did his thing. But for the Dolphins, I still need to see a string of games with that consistently because if the Patriots are struggling, then it's like with any team week one, what are we really seeing? We got a few games to go, but a win
Right.
is a win. Like I said for Pittsburgh, a win is a
Mm-hmm.
win. You win the games you're supposed to win, or you win those 50-50 games. Hey, if you pull it out, you pull it out. Hey, that goes in your team's favor. So for the Dolphins, I think that the Dolphins, to me, have so many weapons that the expectation should be high. So for
I agree.
Tua, it's not one of those things like, oh, well, if they have a bad game, no, 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 no. You guys paid a lot of people a lot of money. You guys got the speed. You have a defensive team as well. You have a pretty decent defense. So there's no reason why we shouldn't have expectations high for the Dolphins. So I'm not surprised at what Tyreek Hill does because that's what he does. He's done that wherever he's been. So for the Patriots, there's a lot of questions there, and we don't
Mm-hmm.
know which way they're going to go right now.
I agree. And it's not just say I feel like the Patriots, and I actually have some stats here just real quick before we get to Cole. Um I think their number one receiver is going to be Jacoby Myers. And Jeremiah, we saw him catch a lot of great balls from Mac Jones. I think he is going to be that number one guy for them. He's a dog. He's very physical. He was catching everything. He was high pointing the ball, different things like that. And then of course Devontae Parker's still there. And Nelson Aguilar is there, I believe. He's there. I saw him catch a couple things, and that's going to be very interesting. And it's not like the Patriots don't have talent. They do have talent on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball, but it's putting it together. And I feel like we have, and like my dad said, we have all these high expectations because of what Brady did, Gronk and those guys did in the
Exactly.
old days. And we expect that out of Mac Jones. And I feel like we should just accept Mac Jones is Mac Jones. We have to keep him at that. We can't compare him to Tom Brady because Tom Brady is a once in a lifetime kind of talent. You're not going to get a Tom Brady. Mac Jones is completely different, completely different. But Cole, before we go to
Yes.
break, is is Mac Jones the it factor for the Patriots? Do you feel like he was that guy, or they just had to do something to try to, cover up since Brady left? Is he that guy for the Patriots?
Yeah, so I will get into that, but I have two more things that I just need to say about the Steelers.
Go ahead.
So Mitch won the game in overtime for them, hands down.
Right.
Catch by Deontay, perfect. That was phenomenal. If TJ is out for a long, extended period of time, the season is over. All right. That is a game-changing loss on defense.
Yeah.
The next thing, all of the Pitt fans who are like, they should have brought in Kenny Pickett. That game was Mitch Trubisky's fault. All right. Kenny Pickett's a rookie playing week one in the NFL. He's not playing in preseason anymore. He's playing with the big boys.
Mm-hmm.
So they can just keep quiet about all that, because to go out and say, oh, yeah, if we would have had Kenny Pickett, we would have blew him out, you're not making a solid point at all. So about that. Now about Mac Jones. So Mac Jones, I think, can be that it factor. He's still a young quarterback. He still needs to grow, and he kind of too needs to be molded. But you got to trust Bill Belichick. He is the greatest coach in NFL history. He just is. He is up there. He's just produced there. He's had so many talented teams, so good defenses, good offenses. About the Patriots and what I think, I really do believe that the Patriots are missing Josh McDaniel, who I believe is now the head coach of the Raiders.
I agree. Yes, he's with the Raiders. Absolutely.
They really are, because he was a very big focal point on that
I
offense.
agree 100%.
And putting that together. So I think the Patriots are going to struggle this year with losing that. I think the Patriots, I think they're going to finish in third place. But I really do think that the Patriots this year are going to really struggle, and they're going to hurt from that. And I think too, this could be a down year for the Patriots. But
yeah,
look at when they had a down year the last time. The next year they go out and they make the playoffs. So if they can go out too and they say have a good draft, they get some players on defense. While I didn't watch the Dolphins Patriots game, I could just tell too from seeing it in the kind of the corner of my eye that the Patriots they struggled on offense. And
yes, very badly.
The Dolphins, I think, have a good team this year. I think they're a playoff team.
And real quick, just to add to what Cole just said, I completely agree, because what is one of the most detrimental things to a young quarterback is changing the offensive system.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you lose that consistency. So yeah, he's absolutely right about that, because you don't know what that's doing to his development.
And even during the game, the commentators kept saying, I wonder who's calling the plays for the Patriots. Is it Bill Belichick? Is it Matt Patricia? They kept saying it over and over and over again. And I was like, man, like they're just trying to dig it out. And it's like, I just feel like, for me, when we look at this Patriots team, the Patriots fans have to accept reality of what's happening. They have to accept it. It's not Tom Brady. It's not that same. It's rebuilding stage. Can Mac Jones be good? I believe he can. I've seen spurts. He was a national champion. He played with Alabama. Was arguably one of the best, if not the best, college football head coach ever, in Nick Saban. So he has that experience. But man, the Patriots, I don't know. I don't know if they can keep up with the Dolphins or the Bills, and how the Bills and Dolphins came out looking. I don't see them keeping up with them. But that wraps up this segment.
Bills.
Yeah. we're gonna talk about them in the second half. So we're gonna wrap this segment up. We're gonna talk about all things. We're gonna go into the NFC, and then we're gonna talk about the Bills. So we'll be right back with a short break.
Renting is everything. It's style at your doorstep, off the runway and into your closet. It's every trend you've been dying to try, and every designer you've yet to discover. It's wearing it your way every time and making it count everywhere you go. It's never worrying about what to wear, because something new is always coming your way. That's why renting is everything. New styles, top designers, all for a flat monthly fee. Start your subscription at renttherunway.com.
Slow roasted over hickory fire and pulled by hand. This is the way pit pork has always been done. Pulled pork lovers, rejoice. The smoky old days are back at the Smoke Shack. From the creative team that brought you The Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Falling from the Sky.
You're watching Jasmine Pollock's First Impressions Sports Talk. Be sure to join Jasmine every week for great conversation on the NBA, NFL, and a wide variety of sports topics. To see past episodes of First Impressions Sports Talk, go to YouTube and search First Impressions Sports Talk. You can connect with Jasmine on LinkedIn by searching Jasmine Pollock. And now, back to more First Impressions Sports Talk.
Welcome back to more First Impressions Sports Talk. I'm your host, Jasmine Pollock. The voices you just heard were from Kelly Johnson and Dion Hunter. And if you would like voiceover work done, you can go to the leonthomasgroup.com and get voiceover work done for your future project or current project. If you would like to be a guest on my show, Jasmine's First Impressions Sports Talk, you can go to my website at jasmineonsports.com. So let's get into the NFC, and then at the end, we're going to talk about the Bills. Okay. You guys know I'm a Packers fan. I know we all saw the game. We saw the score. We saw what happened. I am very baffled still at what happened, and if I was watching the team I was rooting for. I am very concerned about our receiving core. So I am scary concerned because 75-yard wide open Christian Watson, our second round pick, the rookie, he beat the guy. I mean, by like 5 yards. You drop the ball, and Aaron placed it right in your hand, and you drop it. I just don't know. And then the next play to go 3 and out, Romeo Dubs, his third round pick, he goes a different direction, and Aaron told him to go the other direction. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen now. I think we still can win the division, but I am so nervous about this team. Jeremiah, I see you shaking your head. What was the reaction about the Packers and Vikings game?
I actually have a different stance on this, actually, because I know what we talked about yesterday and how, frustrating that was. But at the same time, just like we said about all these games, it is the first game. And I'm going to go right into everything because look at this because, okay, of course, Jefferson, he is one of the top receivers, if not, that top 3 in the league right now.
I don't mean to cut you off. Let me say something.
Right now.
Hold on. Let me say something real quick. Hold on. Give me 1 second. When our corner, Jair Alexander, he's an all-pro corner. He was the top 5 corners. When he was on him in the game, you didn't hear anything from Justin Jefferson. Until we put Stokes on him, he gets burned every time. Because our defensive coordinator, Brady, will not travel Jair at all. And after the game, Jair's like, man, I don't know why they don't travel me. And he wants the challenge. But guess what? We paid him all this money. He's the highest paid corner. You don't put him on the top receiver. But go ahead.
But this is my thing. Like I said, it is the first game. And you fix these type of things. And this is my thing. Many people are talking about, dang, this offense looked really bad without Devontae, which it really did. It looked horrible yesterday. It looked horrible. But at the same time, look at that second half that happened. The Minnesota, they didn't score too many points and really got to a huge lead in that second half. They didn't really run up the score when this Packers team was very deflated at everything. They did field goals, or they just got maybe like 1 touchdown, but not even. That was like even before the half. So I would say that the Packers defense is going to get there. And also the offense is going to get there, but it's just going to take some games. I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers try to sneak their way back inside of there, because whenever you have Aaron and whenever you're trying to get to a new spot, many people say, he's not very trusting and stuff, but he's going to have to trust them. And that's what's going to make this even better. It's going to make him in a more uncomfortable space to make something work out of nothing. And I feel like, especially with those rookies, they're going to get those things down. After this first game and everything else, they got their jitters out and everything. I just feel like they're going to go to work and they're going to figure out where the problems are at.
Because how Christian broke on that guy. I saw the speed. He is big. He is physical. And even when Aaron came out during the offseason and talked about the receiving core dropping the balls, we saw right there in the first play, 75 yards. Aaron knows that they're talented, but it's the hands. It's literally their hands. He was wide open. That was a walk-in touchdown. Literally walk-in, 75 yards right in your hands. You drop it. Dad, your reaction to the Packers and Vikings game?
So I want to start off by saying I did say that the Vikings were going to be one of my sleeper teams. So I just want to say
No,
that
you
real
said
quick.
the Packers are going to win that game. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
but did I not say that about the Vikings though? Yes.
I don't take too much stick in the Vikings.
Yeah.
The Packers look like
So,
trash.
but here's the thing. But this is what I'm gonna say. But a win is a win. So the Vikings won the game when it counted. So a win is a win. So now I'm gonna go on the Packers side of the ball because I did pick the Packers to win that game. What I'm gonna say is you can't. So Aaron Rodgers, and you made a comment about it when he called his receivers out in the preseason. Now, to me, when you look at the chemistry with the receiver quarterback, that could be a bigger issue than on the surface because there could be a chemistry issue throughout the entire organization right now because there are certain things that should not come out in the media. I truly believe that. I believe that you guys are going to battle together. So if there is an issue, there is a way to pull them behind the building and really hash it out. You're in training camp together. You guys are going to be together for several months. So why not have those private conversations? So now you don't know what kind of pressure you're putting on these receivers. Not an excuse because they're supposed to be professionals, correct? But now now it's not fluid. Maybe they're trying too hard, and the nervousness is causing them to be less productive. So I want to say that there's some mending that has to be done between Aaron Rodgers and his receiving core. Now, as a team overall, now we're starting. Is LaFleur? What is your game plan? What are we doing? What are we trying to do with this team? What is the Green Bay Packers right now? Because anytime you have Aaron Rodgers, I'm sorry, every year is Super Bowl or bust, or at least getting deep in the playoffs. So we can't. He's getting to that point in his career, just like Tom Brady and the other older quarterbacks, to where it's getting critical, to where you're running out of time. So
Exactly.
yes, I think Devontae Adams is a huge loss for them. But I think also that chemistry is the biggest thing for me. I just look at that, and I think that's causing more problems for Green Bay than anything. But like Jeremiah said, and I said at the beginning, it is the first game. So we got to be real careful this early, really jumping, because how many seasons have we watched where the team has blown teams out and you're like, wow, this is the most powerful team, and they don't even make it to the playoffs. So we got to be real careful for that. So we got to be optimistic
Not
about
to mention,
what's to see.
not to mention, the past 2 years, our first games, we've got blown out. Last year, we got blown out by the Saints the first game. And I said the same thing, the same thing last year. And look what happened. Aaron won MVP. Now, we don't have Devontae this year. Do I think the receiving core has potential? Yes, because I saw the speed, I saw the route running, and I saw the physicality of them. It's just the hands that's becoming a problem. Now, I can say this. When Devontae Adams, when we first drafted him, he had a dropping issue as well. He also had dropping problems. And that was causing frustration because it was like, okay, Jordy Nelson, I believe Jordy Nelson retired. And we were just looking at that same conversation back then. Then look at what Adams has become now. Do I think now when Lazard, I know our number one receiver, Lazard, who was with him and Devontae both, were phenomenal for us last year. He was injured. And Lazard is a very big part in our offense. And I think when he comes back, I think he'll be our number one guy. But I need to see the other guys step up, especially Christian. You're the faster out of the receivers. You broke. I saw what he could do. I saw the jet sweep that he did, and he did phenomenal on that. But that 70-yard to open the game, to open the series for the Packers, to see how the Packers look, that was the chance to say, hey, I am here. Cole, what do you have to say about that game, and what was your reaction?
Yeah, so what I have to say about the Packers is, one, Jair Alexander needs to be on Justin Jefferson the whole game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I believe Eric Stokes is a second-year corner.
Second year.
Yeah, second-year corner. Jair Alexander is one of the top cornerbacks in the league. He needs to be on Justin Jefferson. about their receiving core. Aaron Rodgers and those young receivers need to get on the same page. The plays being called, you can't be running the wrong routes. It's now the NFL. What's called, you got to understand the play, and you got to go out and execute it. So that is a big part to me. The drops, I understand they're a rookie, but you can't be making those mistakes now. It is the NFL. If you have a 75-yard pass thrown to you, you need to catch the ball and you need to get in the end zone, especially when you're wide open. So that, to me, is just a big part. All those receivers have got to get on the same page. Their offensive line, too, has some question marks. You got to be able to protect Aaron Rodgers. He's getting older. And I think that the Packers need to rely heavily on the run game.
Absolutely.
They have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Run the ball.
And they gashed him in the second half alone.
They need to run the ball. What else too is I like those, like you can throw those dump offs to Aaron Jones. That's perfect. Or throw it to him out of the backfield, because with Devontae Adams gone, you got to find creative ways and you got to rely heavily too on some of those other guys.
Yes.
Last year, I believe they were a really pass-heavy team. Now they need to run the football. They got some receivers. They got Romeo Doubs in the third round and then Christian Watson in the second round. I think they can definitely turn into good receivers, but they got to execute right. And those rookie mistakes, they got to be gone here. It's now the pros, and if you don't perform, you're going to be gone soon.
I agree. That's 7. I believe that drop just sealed the whole game. I saw everyone's face, Aaron's face, like everyone just was like, even me, I threw my whole notebook on the floor. Jeremiah, you can quote me on that. I threw my notebook on the floor because of how irritated I was. I'm like, you're wide open. And Aaron gave you a beautiful pass. Even you had Skip Bayless even taking up for Aaron Rodgers. That's how you know that you should have caught the ball. 75 yards down the field like that. No. But let's move on. I'm going to just be sad for the rest of the week. And let's look forward to playing the Bears at home. We'll definitely see how that's going to go. But Dad, we're going to talk about the Bucs and Dallas. This game made my weekend because I don't like Dallas. Dallas is my least favorite team, but they lost the Bucs 19-3. You only scored 3 points at home. Your home opener. 3 points. Dad, what's your take on the Bucs and the Cowboys game?
Okay, for me, Buccaneers, for my team, the Bucs. Of course, I like the Broncos as well. But as far as the Bucs go, the offensive line is still a question mark for me. Even though Michael Parsons is probably one of your premier, not probably is one of your premier top 2, top 3, top 5 pass rushers in the league right now. And he got after it. So I am happy that we were still able to execute at some level. I do think this year we're going to need to rely heavily on the run game to alleviate, because we can't have Brady dropping back to pass 50 different passes. I mean, even though he's capable of doing that and he's comfortable doing that, but we have to put the defense on their heels. I'm very concerned. I was happy with what Jones did with Julio, but I'm concerned about his health because he caught a deep ball and he hit the ground and he was hurt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He got up, but that is not, see, and what people got to understand, you got people like Stephon Diggs, you got these small receivers that's flying around. Julio Jones is a big guy, a big muscular guy. So when he dives and gives his body up, he's hitting that ground hard. So I'm anxious to see where he's going to be at later on in the year. I'm hoping that he can stay healthy, but they're going to have to minimize those types of plays for him because you saw him in pain. Now, I'm very happy with Mike Evans, business as usual, doing what he normally does, because he was able to, and he was able to be, pretty productive against a pretty good corner. Godwin, I'm concerned about, with his knee injury, he just had a hamstring.
Question: which corner are we talking about?
We're talking about number 11. I forget his name.
Stephon Diggs' brother, Trayvon.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs.
He's a good corner.
So, yeah, he's a decent corner. He's feast or famine, So
You
he
know why
played a
they throw to
defense.
his side a lot, right?
Yeah, because he takes chances.
He
But
a
hey,
diva.
you got to
Oh
go
man.
for it. But so basically, he did. Mike Evans did what he needed to do, like he always
Absolutely.
does. But one of the things I'll say, I'm concerned about Godwin. I'm concerned about because Godwin, when you have an injury, did you overcompensate somewhere else? So he had a
That's
hamstring
true.
injury,
Yeah.
so he could be out for a little while. So I'm expecting some of our younger receivers to have to step up. Defensively, I'm happy with our defense. I think there's still some room to improve, but I think we're in the right direction because to me, I always watch the defense. Because if you
Right.
have Tom Brady and you can give him some extra possession or limit a team's production, you're always going to have a chance to win with Tom Brady. Now I have to say this, there's a lot of X's and O's I can talk about, but I want to talk about Dak Prescott. Um, so now we have Dak Prescott again with
Injured.
an injury that's going to put him out for a long period of time. And he
Six
had
to
the
eight
knee
weeks.
injury. So since
Mm-hmm.
he's had his contract, I think he's only had one complete season since he's had his new contract. So now Dallas next year, what kind of situation are they going to be in when they start to
Absolutely.
take into consideration, hey, we haven't really had him on the field, and now, what I said to one of my friends earlier, I said, this is starting to feel like a Tony Romo situation where you got all these hopes and close, close. Oh, we're almost there. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. But it's the same story over and over again. And the fans are getting restless, as you can
Yep.
see. When he left the field, they're getting restless. So I think, with Dallas, now I end on this point. Jerry Jones, as the owner, great marketer, knows how to run a business, but I think he needs to take his hands out of the football operations as it relates to what's going on the field. That's been one of the biggest issues
100%.
with the Cowboys for a long time because if you think about it, they had the Super Bowl with Barry Switzer right after Jimmy Johnson left, but since
Mm-hmm.
then there's nothing because you can say he had Jerry Jones's team, but I mean Barry Switzer had the team from Jimmy Johnson, but after that, they have steadily declined. So they got to go back to the drawing board on who's going to coach the team and who's going to run the ownership, and they got to keep that separate. And that's all I got to say about that.
I'm gonna talk solely about Dallas because I just am really happy about this situation. But I'm not happy that Dak's injured. I don't want to ever see players get injured, but just the team. This is America's team. This is America's football team, the richest franchise in pro sports. All this money, all this glitz and glam to be
Prime
this bad.
time.
Prime time. I mean, they just signed an extension with some of these networks to be on all these different platforms that you see on Thanksgiving, Christmas, all the time, and they're not good. And I mean, like Jerry Jones, he's a heck of a marketer. I mean, phenomenal marketer of his team. Like I cannot down the man on that. But the team is not good. The team as the I'm gonna tell you what it is. I think it's Micah Parsons' team now. Like we were saying, okay, before it was Zeke, now then Dak, and now it's Micah. Micah's leading the charge. He is carrying this team on his back. His number is going through number 11. And when I look at Dallas, their receiving core, okay, CeeDee Lamb, he's a phenomenal young talent, but he had a horrible game yesterday. I mean, a very not good game yesterday. And that doesn't say he's still talented to me. He's one of the great younger receivers, but no production. He's supposed to be the number one guy, being that Amari's not there. Cedric Wilson's down in Miami now. And then Michael Gallup is injured, and we don't know. And I thought Michael Gallup was the best receiver out of that whole receiving core that they had. But what is he going to be like? He's piled up some injuries the past couple of years. What is he going to look like when he comes back? This Dallas team is just very not good. It's just bad. It's just when I look at this team, like you have so much talent, have had so much talent, and you don't capitalize. It comes from coaching. Mike McCarthy, I don't know what Jerry Jones thought he was going to get with Mike McCarthy. You saw what he was in Green Bay. You saw what he was. Even with Aaron Rodgers. What was Mike McCarthy? He's one of those laid back guys, not going to say much, just going to go with the flow with a lot of different things, can't manage the clock. I mean, what did you think you were going to get with him? I don't know. I'm just saying for Dallas, the Eagles are coming. You saw what the Eagles did yesterday, how Jalen Hurts looked. They are coming. And And even the Commanders, they didn't look horrible yesterday, but the Eagles, I picked the Eagles to win the division, and now that's strengthening my argument that Dak's going to be out. This team is not looking good and going in the right direction. Cole, what do you think?
Yeah, so I have a lot of question marks about Dallas. That their receiving core, they are really missing Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup tremendously. I like CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb is a very good young receiver. He has shown some incredible talent, but he's got to be able to capitalize. Like, he's got to be able to use that talent. He didn't play well at all yesterday. How many receptions did he have? Like 2 for 22 yards. That's not good. That's not good at all. And Dak didn't play well at all. And their offensive line was horrible. They have so many questions down there in Dallas. Still have a lot of questions about the defense, but Micah Parsons is honestly making his case for a top 5 edge rusher in the league. He's just phenomenal. They can be very good for a long time, but also too, I also think at times too with the draft, I don't think they've done a good job. Like, I think there are so many.
I agree.
There are so many holes to me on that offensive line and the defense, and now they have holes at receiver. They got to get Michael Gallup back as soon as possible because that might help them.
I agree.
Now with Dak gone until the end of October, middle of November, which is what I've heard, they're going to really struggle. I mean, I've heard that, they might need to go out and get a quarterback if they want any chance of competing, because I don't think they can win with that backup at all. And that NFC East, the Eagles are coming, and I think the Eagles are going to win that division. They look like a very good team to me. The receiving
they
core,
do. They look very dangerous.
I just think that Dallas, there's a lot of questions, and I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. And in my opinion, when the season's over, they got to go back to the drawing board. And I think that they need to get rid of Mike McCarthy because I just don't see it in him. I don't think Jerry Jones is I don't think he's that good of a GM either. Like, I think he needs to hire someone and have him take the reins as general manager and in charge of player personnel. Jerry Jones is a great businessman. He can run the Cowboys as a business because they are one of the most valuable franchises in professional sports and around the globe. So he's phenomenal. He can market. And, they have a beautiful new stadium in Dallas. They have a beautiful new practice facility in Dallas. Let him take care of that. But he needs to be out as general manager because that's scary. I mean, they have choked so many years, and I'll continue to say that. They really need to figure some stuff out there in Dallas.
And the Dallas fans, 20 years is literally a 20-year drought. I mean, when was the last time they were in the NFC Championship? I mean, seriously, the fans are hungry. Not that I care, but the fans are hungry for that. And I'm noticing we during the show, the same notion, O-lines have been a problem for a lot of these teams. And that's a really good case study that we could do. Like, what's going on, like we say, for the Bucks, Dallas, Steelers, Bengals, Packers, the O-lines are becoming a problem. Like, I want to know, and I want to get all of your take. We can do a free-for-all right now. What is y'all take on that? Because that's been the notion of every team we just talked about is the O-line. What do you think is what do you guys think is going on with this?
Injuries is the first. Injuries is the first thing. I mean, we've seen injuries to a lot of key people, and you also can see how important centers are to your offensive line communication. That's the quarterback of your offensive line. Also with that, real quick, is the development of your secondary linemen and having them being versatile between guard and tackle. And I think what I spoke about earlier, the evolution of the defensive tackle is also creating, because yes, you have big bruising defensive tackles, but you got guys like Von Miller, Michael Parsons. You got these guys who are speed rushers, and you can't have the same old linemen who can't move their feet. They have to be athletic linemen now to keep up with these guys. And I think that the teams that figure that out, because if you look at it, you got linemen running sub 5 minute 5 second freaking 40s. Like they're running 4.7s, 4.9s and stuff, so you starting to see an evolution of, because everything's getting faster, because now with the penalties and now with the protection of the quarterbacks and the receivers, now the linemen are going to be at a premium on both sides of the ball. So that's basically it for that. So that's what I believe. It's just everybody being trained for the different positions.
So, Dad, do you feel like, so this is a good question. So, do you feel like, okay, so we've seen the evolution of the quarterbacks now, like the Lamars, the Patrick Mahomes getting out the pocket, the Josh Allen's big physical quarterbacks who can move, who can throw across their body and different things like that, and not stationary targets anymore. Now that the defensive linemen are getting more dynamic, they're getting more skill, they're getting faster. Do you feel like the old lines are starting to they're not catching up, they're being left behind? Do you feel like like you said, the old line development is not a point of emphasis anymore? Like, Cole, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so as I've really kind of said before, and I have really stressed offensive line on your show, but it's for good reason. Right. If you can't protect your quarterback, you're going to have an Andrew Luck situation. That's exactly what happened to the Colts. You need guys who are versatile, because at any time someone can go down with an injury. You need guys who are versatile between guard, tackle, and center. And it's such an important position in football. There are 3 extremely important positions in football: quarterback, the blind side protector for your quarterback. So if it's, a left tackle or right tackle, you need them, and edge rusher. You got to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. Those are the 3 most important positions in football.
Absolutely.
Hands down. And especially, too, with the Steelers, going back to them, one of their biggest issues yesterday, and why Mitch did not get that much time to throw, was because of the offensive line play. It was horrible. Yep. Like, you have to be able to protect your quarterback, just because if you can't, you're not giving them time to throw, and you're not giving time for receivers to get open and make plays. Also, as well, bad offensive line play can also, too, be bad quarterback play with interceptions and turnovers.
True.
Because when a team gets pressure on the quarterback and they don't have an offensive line there to protect them, that's what happens. They make mistakes. And it happens with so many guys. You got to be able to protect your quarterback.
Agreed. And I just feel like, and we could definitely keep an eye out on this, on the different O-lines and how these O-lines are they're getting injured a lot. And then I don't feel like they're as skilled now, because the D-lines now are a lot different, because you're chasing guys like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrows. You're chasing, and even Justin Herbert, those guys like that, quarterbacks that are running outside the pocket, throwing across the field, just doing acrobatic things. And I feel like the defensive linemen now are dynamic. Like, if you look at Michael Parsons, it's insane what he's doing, and this is his second year already, and he's already wreaking havoc. But and we mentioned him, I have him as the defensive player of the year. I'll say that now. I predict him being defensive player of the year. But before we get out of here, let's talk about the first game of week 1, which is the Bills and Rams. Now, I'll go on the limb and say I picked the Rams to win that game by 3. I was very much mistaken. I was very shocked at that game. What was it, Dad? 30-10? Dad, what do you have to say about that game? And to what we say, the Rams are overrated. They are overrated. But Dad, go ahead.
So basically, I think that the Buffalo Bills are the truth. They still got a lot. Still got a lot of games left to to kind of watch and see. But this is what the Buffalo Bills. We've been waiting on this. I mean, they've been good the last couple of years. Now, to me, the biggest acquisition to me is Von Miller.
Yes.
When you put Von Miller on that defensive line, you just greatly increase that production, that defensive line. I think that he's going to make all the difference this year. He's done that with every team he's been to. And I think that with Josh Allen's ability to run the ball, his ability to move around, I think that he's going to give teams fits this year because his ability to throw the ball on the run is amazing. So yes, I think the Buffalo Bills are legit, and I think that it's going to be they're going to be a tough out for any defense or any team this year.
Cole, what about you? What is your take on the Rams and Bills game? What
Yeah,
was your
so
reactions?
I think the Bills look like the best team in football. I think they look I thought they looked phenomenal. There were so many things I were impressed about with them. Josh Allen's play was good. Stephon Diggs, he got open. Stephon Diggs is one of the top wide receivers in the league, and especially too, like Johnny said, it always comes down to like the edge rushing. And Von Miller, that's what he does. He's an impact player still. He's getting up there in age, but he is still an impact player. And that, I think, can really get them over the hump. They got pressure on the Rams. Going back to what the Rams, I got some question marks there, especially with losing Von Miller to the Bills. Offensive line play as well, because they could not protect Matthew Stafford
at all.
Cooper Kupp is still a beast, and he's going to be a beast again. One of the best receivers in football. But I think the Bills, they are the team to beat. They just look so good. I think you can honestly keep the Chiefs up there because the Chiefs as well, they look phenomenal. And they have so many weapons where I think that's going to be very difficult for teams to stop. But the Bills, to me, they're the best team in football. Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Just the stuff that he did, I'm very, very impressed by the Bills.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to the Bills, and I said before, I picked them to win the division unless the Dolphins continue on a good streak. I feel like the Dolphins have a team to compete with them, just by, on paper. But when I look at the Bills and even them adding Von Miller, and I agree with my dad, like that adds a dynamic. Now, I still have questions about their secondary though, because if a team like the Chiefs, because they still have to go through and beat the Chiefs, because the past couple of years the Chiefs have had their number. If the Chiefs continue to do that, what they did to the Cardinals yesterday, I don't know if the Bills secondary can hold up against that, even though the Chiefs defense is still questionable as well. So I look at that aspect, but Josh Allen, of course, he is one of the young quarterbacks in this league. That's going to be the league is in good hands with young quarterbacks today. We can all agree on that. There's a lot of young quarterbacks you can just pick from and just go with. But the Rams, man, I picked the Rams to win the division, but I don't even know about this division. I really don't. The 49ers lose. I don't know what their quarterback situation looks like. The Cardinals got destroyed by the Chiefs. The Seahawks look like they're winning right now. I don't even know about this division. Like, I picked the Rams to win just because they're the defending champions and different things like that. I don't have them repeating at all. I don't. Jeremiah, what about you? The Rams, to me, even last year, I still think the Rams are overrated. They've been overrated, but I feel like last year just all the chips fell in place for them. But go ahead, Jeremiah.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I totally agree with you when you say that the Rams are not going back. I don't think that they're going back either, because
Or
just
the
like
NFC
you guys said,
Championship. I don't even see them going
no.
to the
I don't see them going to the NFC
I
Championship,
don't see it.
because just like what we said before, just like what you guys said before, if you don't have a good O-line, you are not getting far. And first of all, how that defensive line got to what's it called? To
Matthew
him
Stafford.
that whole time, like
Mhm.
Vaughn off of that edge, like you guys were saying, and not to mention the secondary just right there watching as he's throwing no looks. They're just there, and you can try and find Kupp, because Kupp is going to try and get open, but at the same time, that pressure is going to be there every single time. And there was a reason that the Rams won last year. they had a better offensive line than the Bengals had. The Bengals had a good offensive line. They probably could have had a chance.
They played against depleted O-lines in the playoffs last year.
Exactly.
Seriously.
And, those things go, hand in hand with each other. And when it comes to the Rams, like you guys said, I feel like they lost important pieces, not too many pieces, but important pieces to their squad. And if they don't fill those gaps, and even if they try to get Beckham, like, what is that going to do? It's going to be another star out there, but at the same time, you have to have a person to throw. You have the person to throw the ball, and also not feel that pressure, because the way that he's going to be getting hit, if that O-line keeps staying throughout this season, it's going to get bad.
Become the Detroit quarterback he was before.
Oh yeah, definitely. But of course, it's game one. But still, what I'm seeing, I don't see a big future for them going down the road. Now, the Bills, I can say that they're going to have a great future going down the road and everything else. Now it's all about them getting over that next hump. We already know they're going to make the playoffs, but getting over that next hump. How is it going to be when it gets to closer games? Because look, Josh Allen and them, they either blow out teams, or when it's close games, it's a struggle with them. So I want to see this year, how is it going to be with everything. But
I just feel like, for me, it's there's so many teams in the AFC that is just so dynamic of what they're going to do. Like, even the Chargers look good yesterday. I still think, even though the Raiders lost to the Chargers, I still think the Raiders are going to be a problem. It's just their defense is questionable. If Tua can continue to be efficient like that, and the defense can play like that, they're going to be a problem. I feel like if Lamar Jackson can throw bombs like he did and how they played yesterday, they're going to be a problem. I still think, even though I still think the Steelers, just based off Steelers culture, they're going to still be around. The Bengals are going to be around. There's so many teams, man. Like, it's just in the AFC. And when I look at the NFC, I looked at the NFC yesterday. They look depleted compared to the AFC. They just, something doesn't feel right in the NFC. They don't, like, the teams. The only team in the NFC that I'm really sure of is the Eagles. Like, really sure. Like, I'm like, okay, this team looks legit. But every other one, there's like, man, I don't know if I want to pick them, because O-line, this receiver over here, this quarterback, you don't really know in the NFC right now, which could be a blessing in disguise, because there could be a team that sneaks up and we didn't even see it coming. So we'll definitely see. Week 2 is going to be exciting. We're going to see what's going to go on with that. Hopefully all of our teams pull off wins, especially the Packers. We desperately need one. But that wraps up tonight's show. Thank you, Cole. Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you to my dad for constantly being a guest on the show. I'm so glad to talk about sports. I'm really excited. And we'll be back next week for more sports talk here on Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. Have a good night, everybody.